And hello, everyone, and happy Halloween! And welcome to Uncivil Law, where we learn through the misfortunes of others. As always, I hope you'll enjoy this commentary content. And today will be the day I earn that subscription. For today's commentary, we are responding to an article from The Atlantic entitled, "Let's Declare Pandemic Amnesty." Okay, no, I'm not really feeling that. These people did things long after they knew better, and imposed long after they knew better. And we now know that. We have gotten that information. Well, we suspected it, and now we even know it for sure. That Pfizer, for example, never tested for transmission, but they said it would protect people from transmission, but they never tested for that. And then it turned out it didn't, for example. And the White House knew that, and they were continuing to peddle it anyway. And in peddling the masks, and peddling wearing them on air travel, even though, to the best of my knowledge, I don't know if there's been a confirmed case of COVID as a result of air travel, because the air is circulated through those HEPA filters. But they did that, and they were trying to get the government to force vaccine mandates on government employees. And New York was trying to get it like on basically everyone who worked in New York. And they fought it to the bitter end, and still are fighting it in some places. And they want amnesty. I'm not feeling like a lot of amnesty. This article, I've read the first paragraph. I haven't read the rest of it. The first paragraph talks about the early days of COVID. See, I think that your forgiveness can depend on the amount of information, in the same way legal analysis can change on that, right? We were discussing, for example, the legality of restrictions for COVID. And I said in the very early days of COVID, and I stand by my analysis in the very early days of COVID, that most of the governmental restrictions at that time were legally valid, because the nature of the knowledge and concern, the factual picture, swung the legal analysis. It wasn't that the Constitution disappeared, at least in my mind, in the early days of COVID. It was that the facts at that time triggered tests in the Constitution we just don't normally trigger. So in the early days of COVID, we were one thing. But then as we got more and more information, and they were trying to do more and more, no. The legal, this for the exact same reason, the factual picture changed. So the legal analysis changed because the facts changed. It's amazing, right? Anyways, that's enough of that. So let's discuss this article from The Atlantic. Let's declare a political amnesty. We need to forgive one another for what we did and said when we were in the dark about COVID. Well, maybe in the early days of COVID, but the ability and willingness of some people to stay in the dark for extended periods of time and continue to remain in the dark to some degree for extended periods of time. Yeah. So we'll see how this goes. All right, let's read this article. In April of 2022, with nothing else to do, my family took an enormous number of hikes. Sounds nice. We all wore cloth masks that I had made myself. Why you thought the cloth masks you made themselves would protect you when you're already outside? If you really thought it was that contagious, then I'm not sure why the cloth mask would save you, but okay. We had a family hand signal when the person in front would use as someone was approaching on the trail and we needed to put on our masks. Once, when another child got too close to my then 4-year-old son on a bridge, he yelled at her, "Social distancing." Wow. We're training the 4-year-olds to shun people in public. This is going great. These precautions were totally misguided, you think? In April 2020, no one got the coronavirus from passing it on to someone else hiking. So, to the best of my knowledge, no one got it really from open air environments, period. I mean, the coronavirus was spread mostly by, to the extent it was spread in extreme regular conduct indoors, not outdoors. Outdoors was like the safest place to be. They by policy forced us into a less safe place to be. Don't go to the outside where, there's air. Go to the inside where you're breathing the same air with everyone else, especially in the nursing homes, particularly the nursing homes, which in the early days of COVID is even more unforgivable, right? Again, I'm willing to extend people knowledge, or I'm willing to extend people discretion in their decisions to the degree that knowledge is uncertain, because that's only fair, right? But if you're not sure how dangerous coronavirus is because it's uncertain in the early days of coronavirus, if you're not certain and you want to take the most conservative measure, the safest measure, then fine, I understand. But then even in the early days of COVID, you knew that old people and people of poor health were going to be more vulnerable because of course they would be. They're just more vulnerable to all ailments, period. But then you took people who had that in a situation where you say you didn't know, in a situation where you thought maybe it's really dangerous, and then you took people who are positive and put them in an environment with other really vulnerable people. Seems like a bad plan, especially in the face of uncertainty. Particularly in the face of uncertainty. Uncertainty would caution you the other way around. Not let's put the most vulnerable population with positive cases in an environment where they're constantly around the most vulnerable population. But okay, we're supposed to forgive you for the stupid in COVID. I'm not feeling it right now. The article continues. These precautions were totally misguided. In April 2020, no one got the coronavirus from passing it on to someone else hiking. Again, if you're this concerned about coronavirus spreading in an outdoor environment, I don't know why you're hiking, and I don't know why you think the cloth masks would save you. Doctors don't wear cloth masks. Why would it? Okay. Outdoor transmission was vanishingly rare. Yeah, to the point of virtual non-existence. Our cloth masks were made out of old bandanas, wouldn't have done anything anyway. But the thing is, we didn't know. Well, in April 2020, I'm willing to be a little bit more forgiving. There was a lot more uncertainty in the early days of COVID about its danger profile. But some of the measures that were being taken, even in the early days of COVID, especially with the elderly, don't make any sense in a face of uncertainty. But okay, you want amnesty for April 2020. Okay, I'm willing to forgive you a little bit for the stupid in April 2020. That's fine. Later on, you're going to have more problems. I've been reflecting on this lack of knowledge thanks to a class I'm co-teaching at Brown University on COVID. Oh, joy. We spent several lectures reliving the first year of the pandemic, discussing the many important choices we had to make under conditions of tremendous uncertainty. Fair enough. Fair enough. Again, this is why the legal analysis also shifts. Legal analysis, the law doesn't change, the facts change. The law that existed in the early days of COVID is no different than the law exists now. We didn't change the law, the facts changed. The uncertainty of the facts were able to pull triggers that we don't normally pull in law. Like, I would have upheld a lot of those limitations in the early days of COVID. Even in retrospect, I would have done it in the early days of COVID because I'm applying legal standards based on the facts as known. And my assessment of the law based on the facts at that time was correct and remains correct as far as I'm concerned. In the early days of COVID. So, yes, you had to make decisions in tremendous uncertainty. If you want to make really conservative decisions, understandable. Some of the decisions made were not that conservative. See example, elderly, but okay. Jules, it's not that the ends justify the means. Again, I'll try to explain this. Right? It's not that the ends justify the means. Or at least that's not what I'm saying. Right? we have laws. Some of these laws aren't triggered very often. Some laws are triggered all the time. Some laws are not triggered very often. So the laws that aren't triggered very often are still laws. They're just not triggered very often because the facts are very rarely appropriate to trigger those laws. It's not about the ends justifying the means. It's about the fact that the legal standards that are in place, which are always in place, haven't changed. The facts changed. When the facts change, the legal analysis changes because the facts now satisfy the legal tests. That's not ends justify the means. That's just law. Anyways, carrying on. Some of these choices turned out to be better than others. To take an example close to my own work, there is an emerging, if not universal consensus, that schools in the United States were closed for too long. A lot of people were saying this a lot earlier. The transmission rate and infection rate for the young was known pretty early on. There's a pretty big difference between, for example, April 2020 and September 2020, right? When the school year is coming back into play. By September 2020, we had pretty damn good information that COVID didn't impact the young, didn't impact the healthy. But still, they persisted. We want to take people out of school in April 2020. I understand. You want to deny them going to school in September 2020 based on the factual picture that's known? Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. The health risk of in-school spread were relatively low. Yeah. Where the cost of students' well-being and educational process were high. Yes. The latest figures on learning loss are alarming. Yeah, and the conservatives were telling you this at the time, based on the information known at the time, but you wouldn't listen. Reasonable people who cared about children, teachers, advocated on both sides of the reopening debate. But only one side won, and the other side was not applying the facts as they were known. Another example, when vaccines came out, we lacked definitive data on the relative efficacy of Johnson & Johnson's shot versus mRNA options from Pfizer and Moderna. The mRNA vaccinations won out, but at the time, many people in public health were either neutral or expressed a J&J preference. The misstep wasn't nefarious, it was the result of uncertainty. The efficacy data was pretty known pretty early on, by fall of 2020. So again, I mean, yeah. Obviously, some people intended to mislead and make wildly irresponsible claims. Remember when the public health community had to spend a lot on time and resources urging Americans not to inject themselves with bleach? Well, guys, if you inject yourself with bleach, you're just dumb. But most of the error, that was bad. Misinformation was and remains a huge problem. If injecting yourself with bleach is just dumb. That's really dumb. That's really dumb. But most errors were made by people who were working in earnest for the good of society. No, I don't think so, especially at the top levels. I don't think that's true of Fauci. He's a liar. He's admitted to lying. He admitted to lying about masks. He lied about the necessity of masks. Remember, really early on, Fauci opposed masks. Remember? And he then said later the reason he opposed masks was not because he didn't believe masks would be helpful, but because he didn't want people to buy masks and so they wouldn't be available for first responders. So he lied to people for good reasons, but he lied. He admitted to this. He admitted to lying for the cause, for the good of the order. The government has been caught lying about the transmissibility of COVID with the vaccine. Pfizer never tested for it. The White House knew. They still were telling people it would help with transmission. It does not. I should get it to prevent you from catching it. It does nothing. Yeah. So I don't think that that's true, especially at the highest levels. I don't really think it's true of the CDC now, which voted 15-0 recently to make COVID a mandatory vaccine for school children. Because again, the risk is so low for school children. But 15-0, like it was last week or 2 weeks ago, it just happened. They voted 15-0 to make it a mandatory vaccine. Why? You want political amnesty? I don't think so. The states don't determine that. The CDC doesn't determine that. States do. This is technically correct. Nicole is correct in the technically correct is best kind of correct sense. Yes, you're correct. The CDC doesn't technically decide what the states do. That's true. They put it on the registry that many states follow would be a more accurate statement. Thank you. Given the amount of uncertainty, almost every position was taken on some topic. And on every topic, someone was eventually proven right and someone else was proven wrong. In some instances, the right people were right for the wrong reasons. In other instances, there's a prescient understanding of available information. But it was available information. It was available information. Why would their understanding be prescient? It was available. You just said so. It was available. What's the problem? There weren't enough masks for healthcare workers? Okay. Fine. Maybe they were, maybe there were, maybe they weren't. Whether there were or were not enough masks for healthcare workers is irrelevant to whether or not Fauci lied or not. It's at best relevant to his motives or justification to lie, not whether he did lie. Whether there were masks for healthcare workers or not is irrelevant to the question of whether he lied. If your argument is that there was in fact a shortage of masks for healthcare workers, and that was Fauci's motivation, okay. He still lied. He's a liar. He lied to the public. He knew something. He knew the masks would be helpful, and he lied and said to the public they wouldn't be helpful. That is a knowing, conscious, intentional falsehood. That's what we call a lie. He lied. Great. I'm glad I could clear that up. The people who got it right for whatever reason may want to gloat. Yeah. Those who got it wrong for whatever reason may feel defensive and retrench into a position that doesn't accord with facts. Well, having a position that doesn't accord with facts wouldn't be a new problem for the wrong people. All this glowing and defensiveness continues to gobble up a lot of social energy and to drive the culture wars, especially on the internet. You were wrong. You were wrong, and you took away people's freedom and liberty, and you're still doing it. You're still doing it. In the face of so much uncertainty, getting something right had a hefty element of luck. In April 2020, yes, you're correct. 6 months later, October 2020, less so. A year later, much less so. Today, extremely less so. And you're still doing it. You're still doing it. New York, Ren Al MD says, 2-time board certified MD here. I was kicked off Nextdoor forum for recommending sun and exercise. Whoa, what amazing concepts. Sun and exercise might be good. Film at 11, right? A two-time doctor. Yeah. But yeah, but still, you were kicked off the forums for saying it. Isn't that bullshit? Isn't it bullshit? I feel your pain. I'm a 0-time board certified MD, and I can tell you, getting out in the sun and getting some exercise is probably a good idea. I mean, yeah. But the fact that you, with these credentials, weren't able to say this incredibly obvious truth because it went against the narrative, despite your education and knowledge, which proved the obvious to someone who already knew this, even though they don't have any medical education of really any kind. Like, this is incredibly frustrating. All the doctors who were kicked off YouTube or the Twitters for the wrong thing, for saying things that didn't agree with the mainstream opinion. Really frustrating. I can't begin to imagine how frustrating it must be for you as an MD. Like, dude, I'm 2 times board certified. I mean, I'm a little bit educated around this. I'm thinking maybe sun and exercise might be good for you. It's a witch. I feel your pain. I feel your pain. Dogum hacks gave FM. Don't ever forgive or forget what they did. Especially when they knew better, man. Especially when they knew better. I agree. There was also $10 from Maureen Griffin. Every single word of this is how many of us feel. I hope the worst offenders pay a political price next week. Yeah. Vote them all out of office, man. I admitted and cared for over 200 COVID patients in our community. They didn't care. A few know-nothings hijacked the career I love. Yeah. I mean, I would think that 200 COVID patients, again, might give you a basis of information that might, along with your 2-time board certification, in addition to your years of training and education and study and all the rest of it, might give you a basis for what might be considered an informed opinion, but apparently not, I guess. Yeah. These discussions are heated, unpleasant, and ultimately unproductive. You're going to lose them. That's why they're unproductive. You're going down, and you should. Getting something wrong wasn't a moral failing. For many of you, it was. Again, I like the way this article started it. This article started by talking about April 2020, right? That's how this article started. That's the rhetorical trick of this article. It started talking about April 2020. If the confines of this argument were limited to April 2020, I'd be a lot more accepting. But of course, it's not. They're just trying to use April 2020 as a point of, we didn't know any better then, so forgive us all for all of it. No, I'm not going to forgive you when there was more information by your own admission. Prescient understanding of the facts. The facts were known. No. Treating pandemic choices as a scorecard on which some people racked up more points than others is preventing us from moving forward. Not for nothing, but if they had been proven right, they would have been shoving it down our face forever. If they had been proven right, they would have been shoving it down our face forever. But now that they've been proving it wrong, well, let bygones be bygones. Sorry for the whole, destroying liberty, destroying doctors, destroying medical professionals, taking away their Twitter, taking away their YouTube, taking away their Nextdoor, preventing them from expressing opinions. Such scary and unconventional opinions as maybe going out in the sun once in a while and getting some exercise might be a good thing for your health. What radical thinking. Taking kids out of schools, keeping them out of schools, despite all the warnings, despite the fact there was really no risk to the kids at all, keeping them out of schools, putting the vaccine on the federal recommendation list for mandatory vaccines for kids, trying to force it on people in the workplace at a time you knew better, trying to force it on federal employees at a time you knew better. They started this article talking about April 2020 because they want you to think like, we didn't know any better in April 2020. Forgive us for all of it. No, I'll give you a buy for March. I'll give you a buy for February 2020, March 2020, April 2020. I'll even give you May and June because I'm a generous guy. How about July? I'm just really, really nice. But yeah, no, no. We have to put aside these fights and declare political amnesty. Lol, no. Lol, no. We can leave out the willful purveyors of actual misinformation, like, for example, Fauci. Fauci is an actual purveyor of misinformation. He knowingly, purposefully lied. In the early days of COVID, he said people shouldn't wear masks not because he didn't think they would be helpful. He said it specifically because they thought they would be helpful, and if people bought them, there wouldn't be enough for medical professionals. He actually purposefully misinformed. He's admitted to it. The willful purveyors of actual misinformation include Fauci, among others. That's disinformation, not misinformation? Well, either way. While forgiving the hard calls that people had no choice to make with imperfect knowledge. Los Angeles County closed its beaches in summer 2020. Yeah, even in summer 2020, that's a hard one to justify. Again, I'm giving you a lot of buy here, but for outdoors on the beach where people are no. Ex post facto, this makes no more sense than my family masked hiking trip. But we need to learn from our mistakes and then let them go. Does this mean in the future you won't be closing the beaches in similar circumstances? Because I doubt it. You know, if they actually learned from this, I might also be more forgiving. Geez, we were really, really dumb. We shouldn't do that, and we won't do it again in the future. But you know they'll do it in the future. You know they'll do it in the future. They haven't learned anything. We need to learn from our mistakes. Start with yourself, my friend. Start with you. You learn from your mistakes. I might be more forgiving then. Damn. We need to forgive the attacks too. How generous of you. Because I thought schools should reopen and argue that kids as a group were not at high risk, I was called a teacher killer and a genocidaire. You were right. It wasn't pleasant, but feelings were high, and I certainly don't need to dissect and rehash that time for the rest of my days. I don't know. It seems like you were basing your opinion based off information. Like a person should probably do. In this respect, it looks like you might have been right. Maybe not so much in other respects. Moving on is crucial now because the pandemic created many problems we still need to solve. Yeah, the problems that were created by the pandemic mostly related to the governmental actions. Most of the problems of the pandemic were created by you, not by the pandemic. They were created by you and people like you. People who read The Atlantic. Maybe you should take some accountability for that. How about that? Take some accountability for that. Show me that you've learned the errors of your ways. Show me that you won't do it again. Show me you've learned. Ask for some contrition, maybe, instead of just amnesty. I'm not in for it, man. Student test scores have shown historic declines, more so in math than in reading, and more so for students who were disadvantaged at the start. Well, geez, no one could have seen that one coming. We need to start to collect data, experiment, and invest. Oh, good. More money from the government. That sounds great. Is high dosage tutoring more or less cost effective than extended school years? Why have some states recovered faster than others? Ooh, I know the answer. I know the answer. I know the answer, teacher. Why have some states recovered faster than others? Ooh, I know. Some states didn't lock everyone down forever, didn't destroy their economy, didn't prevent businesses from running, didn't deny people their freedoms, let people live their lives. Yeah. Could be those factors. Could be that. Maybe that's why some states are doing better than others. We should focus on questions like these because answering them is how we will help our children recover. I don't think this has very much to do with the children, more with you trying to save your ass. I don't trust your motives. Think of the children as a classic defense mechanism. I'm not having it. Many people have neglected healthcare over the past several years. Notably, routine vaccination rates for children were way down. Yeah, people weren't going to the doctor. It also was hard to find doctors. Rather than debating the role that messaging about COVID vaccines had in this decline, and the fact that you were lying about, for example, the COVID vaccine preventing transmission, because it was never tested for that, because we were moving at the speed of science. Seemed to me you were moving faster than that, but okay. We need to put all our energy into bringing those rates back up. Oh, good. We're going to solve the problem with more vaccines. My heart is thrilled. Pediatrician and public health officials will need to work together on community outreach, and the politicians will need to consider school mandates. Yep. I know. I'm not sure they learned. I'm not sure they learned from their mistakes. I'm not feeling it. The standard saying is those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. I'm looking right at you. But dwelling on the mistakes of history can lead to a repetitive doom loop as well. So you want to forget? Okay. Let's acknowledge that we made complicated choices that you're apparently still making. Thank you, Rose RNC LNC. Thank you very much for your 20 gift memberships. Let's acknowledge that we made complicated choices that you're apparently still making and still insisting on. In the face of deep uncertainty, again, in April 2020, maybe. That summer, That fall, A year later, Yeah. Let's acknowledge we made complicated choices and then we'll try to work better to build back and move forward. I'm surprised she didn't say build back better. Apparently this was written by Emily Oyster, who is an economist at Brown University. She's the author of The Family Firm, a data-driven guide to better decision-making in early school years and expecting better, why conventional pregnancy wisdom is wrong and what you really need to know. She does love telling other people about their wrongness, doesn't she? But she doesn't like being told about her wrongness. How amazing. Well, that article was a whole pile of stupid. That article was an extreme pile of stupid. The government lied. They knew they were lying. They're continuing to lie. They know they're lying. They're engaging in misinformation, disinformation. States like Florida got it basically right. States like California Not so much. Not for nothing, by the way, but I moved to Austin, Texas in February 2020. In March 2020, Austin shut down. At the time, I lived downtown. And 6th Street, which for those of you who are not familiar, is a major bar street. It's just like bars after bars after bars for like quite some distance. Think like Beale Street or Bourbon Street or, you know, anything like that. You got the idea, right? It's very famous corridor, and everything was boarded up and abandoned. It was very depressing. Not other parts of Texas, by the way. From what I'm told, Dallas didn't ever shut down. I'm thinking of moving up that way in the spring because Austin's full of a bunch of commies. I'm thinking about moving up to Dallas. Yeah. So, good times. Yeah. The best thing for your health is go outside, see the sun, touch some grass. That doesn't hurt. That doesn't hurt. Yeah. Fort Worth. Yeah. Well, the Dallas Fort Worth area. We'll figure out exactly where, but somewhere around that. Yeah. So I'm thinking about moving up that way in the spring. So this was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with you guys. The show makes you want to drink. I feel you. Fort Worth welcomes you. Forget Dallas. Maybe. Yeah, I've heard good things about Fort Worth. Probably try to live on the border there a little bit. Split the difference, live in Arlington or something. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm just beginning to look at that. Maybe making the move in a couple months. Happy Halloween to you, trigger warning. Do you get mail today? I don't check my mail every day, but I did see a package arrive today at the post office box because they send me a message every time a package arrives. So if your question is, did I get a package today? Yes, but I haven't gotten it yet. I don't go every day. I usually go about once a week, usually sometime around the weekends. But I did see a package arrive, so I'm excited about this. Thank you very much. Someone sent me a stuffed Clemson tiger. I'm excited about this. It will improve my life. Have I been to bunker branding yet? No. What is bunker branding? Is that a thing? It's an online merchandise store for all your social media influencers. Okay. Apparently in Barn, Texas. Okay. It's a merch store. I can be an influencer that has a thing on the store and sell some stuff. Okay. Interesting. Don't move to Texarkana. Okay, I'll try to keep that in mind. I'm really tired of judges running opposed. You should think about running for judge. I probably will run for judge in a couple years. I'll have to look it up because they changed the rules in Austin, Texas a couple years back. How long do I have to be an attorney to run for judge in Texas? Let's see. Qualifications for public office. Okay. Let's see. Presiding judge, 10 years. Presiding judge and judge, Court of Criminal Appeals, 10 years. I'm a long way from there. Chief Justice and Justice Court of Appeals, 10 years. District Judge, 4 years. Criminal District Judge, 4 years. Family District Judge, 4 years. District Attorney, I just have to be licensed. Criminal District Attorney, I just have to be licensed. County Judge, not required. Judge, county court at law, 4 years. Judge, county criminal court, 4 years. Judge, county probate court, 4 years. County attorney, I just have to be licensed. So if I want to be a district judge, trial level judge, I have to be licensed for 4 years. If I want to be on the Court of Appeals, 10 years. Lame. I'll be old. I'll be really old. That sucks. Oh well. Salt Lick is overrated. It's not bad, but it's overrated. I've been to Salt Lake. I had a good time. I'd go again. I think it's just not quite the nirvana that some people rate, but it's fine. So yeah, I can run for district judge in 4 years. Apparently I can run for county judge now. For a 4-year term. Maybe I'll run for county judge. That's that administrative position though, isn't it? County judge. That's not really a judge at all, is it? That's like the chief executive. Yeah, I don't think county judge is actually a judge. Because Texas does things weird. I could run for justice of the peace. I could run for railroad commissioner and run the Texas oil wells. That'd be good. I don't need to be a lawyer to be attorney general of the state. Yes. I can run for attorney general without being licensed. Lol. Maybe I'll give Paxton a run for his money. That'd be good. I need to have connections. I just need to get enough people to vote for me. It's only 10 years, so you'd be what, like 34, 36? Wow. That's very nice, but no. You must think I guess I project as much younger than I am. I'm 41 years old. So in 10 years, I'd be 51 years old. I'm old, guys. I mean, I've been a licensed attorney for 15 years. I mean, you know, so, yeah. Shut it. You thought I was 15? You're looking good. You thought I was in my 30s? Okay. It's the babyface one shave. Oh, yeah. And incidentally, I'm getting a new electric razor tomorrow, which I'm very excited about. Wonder if being in law tube will come back to bite you. I'm sure. But, you know, we'll just have fun with it. It'll be fine. You know, there's always people that'll try to make something into something. It's just, you know, we'll just run a fun campaign and just let it roll off our backs. It'll be fine. How long for Supreme Court? Hey, I don't need to be a lawyer at all. I just need to be nominated by the president. I'm available today. There are no requirements to be a Supreme Court justice. Well, other than there being an opening, which there's not at the moment. That's a problem. But, you know, other than that, I could be I'm available for federal bench. There's plenty of openings on the federal bench I'm available for. President Biden can nominate me today, and the Senate can confirm me tomorrow, man. I'm ready to go. Let's do it. Talk to Ty about running for office. I might do so. Don't you have to be an American citizen to be on the Supreme Court? Technically, no. No, technically, no. There are no requirements of any variety to be on the Supreme Court or any federal judgeship for that matter. There are literally zero requirements. You don't have to be an American citizen. You don't have to speak English. You don't have to be like over 18. You could be 5. There are literally 0 requirements to be a federal judge. You just have to be nominated by the president and confirmed by the Senate. That's it. Those are all the requirements. So, you know, just saying. And breathing. Can you be a felon and get on the Supreme Court? Yes. There are no requirements. What did I say? There are no requirements. Can you be a felon? Yes. You could be incarcerated. You could be serving time. You could be serving a life sentence. This would make it very hard to show up at meetings and stuff, but you know, I guess we'll work it out. There are no requirements of any variety. You have to be alive, be nominated and confirmed. This is it. You can be a felon, you can be serving time, whatever. It's all good. No problem. Darrell Brooks is eligible to be appointed to the Supreme Court. This is true. He could be, in fact, appointed to the Supreme Court. Please don't give Joe Biden any ideas. He could educate us all about subject matter jurisdiction. Oh, God save us. And lawful law, which I still don't know what that is. I still don't know what he thinks lawful law is. I don't know what that means. I don't even know what it means from a Salv Sit perspective. I still don't know what it means. What is lawful law? I don't know. I don't know what that means. But I'm available. Contact if you want me to be the next federal judge. Hey, here's something for you. Why don't you contact your senator's office? Why don't you contact your senator's office and tell them you have a name for a federal judge and give them my name. You know, you do have a First Amendment right to petition your government for redress of grievances. So feel free to write your senator today and tell them, I want Uncivil Law from the YouTubes to be our next federal judge. I think he'd do a fantastic job. Feel free to write that letter. Go nuts. That's not how judges get picked. It's sometimes how they get picked. I mean, of course, the president's the one who nominates them, but yeah, sometimes they come from senators. Where do you think the president gets the ideas from? Yeah, sometimes they come from senators. So yeah, sometimes it is how they get picked, to be quite honest. A senator wants something, they want a favor. They want someone to be appointed in political favor. Yeah, sometimes it is how it happens. My senator's on the Judiciary Committee, even better. Even better. I'm available. How many years does it take to get through law school? 3 years. 3 years full-time, 4 years part-time. You want Soros's pick like that? Hell yes. I have no problem being chosen by Soros or by why would it matter to me? This is a strange question. Do I have any problem being appointed by Biden? Nope. No, I think that'd be great. Get Soros to nominate me, get Biden to nominate me. This is fantastic. This is perfectly fine. I have no problem with any of this. This is great. Should you hire a lawyer for pardon? Oh, that's a little bit outside my field of expertise. I don't really know how those get done. You need some sort of specialist on that one. That's a little bit outside my expertise on how that gets done. Lawn Lumber's here. Yay! Lawn Lumber gives $4.99 to say just dropped out dramatic reading of Nate's lawsuit as video on demand. Editing made me smile over how fun it was to read together. Happy Halloween, my friend. Well, I look forward to seeing your edited video, and happy Halloween to you as well, sir. Lawn Lumber is the best. He's the best with the unicorns. He's a good friend. My life is better for Rob. Rob, you need to move out of Virginia. Can I recommend Dallas, Fort Worth? I'm looking at moving up that area. We can share a house or something. LawTube house. It'll be great. Thoughts on Akil Amar? I like his brand of originals and podcasts, but I appreciate your thoughts. No particular thoughts. I don't have enough information to have an opinion of him. I don't know him that well, to be honest. There's no trees in Dallas? Really? That's depressing. I think LawTube House would be amazing. We'll have LawTube House, be content creators. It'll be great. We could have our own reality show. What's the appellate standard for you for a question in fact? Clear error, basically. I'm in Texas now. I've lived in Texas for 2 years, almost 3 at this point. I've lived in Texas now. I passed the Texas bar. I'm still waiting to get sworn in. But yeah, I've lived here for almost 3 years now. I've got the hat. I am in Austin at the moment. Yes, I live in Austin. Lawn Lumber says, I'm currently staring at 320 pounds box Banshaw and wishing you were still here to help me lift it and this damn thing and move into the shop. That's pretty cool, man. Hope you have a lot of fun with that. Why did I pick Austin? I visited here in 2019 and something about the city, I kind of liked it. And I had been looking for a change from Northern Virginia for a while as as one of the mechanisms to try to treat my depression. I thought maybe a change of scene would be helpful. The timing of the whole thing didn't really help in that end because I just wound up locked alone away from all support networks. So that was really just brilliant timing by me. But I've been looking for somewhere to live for a while because I'd been dealing with depression issues we talked about before in the channel. And I thought, my job was a major problem, but before I left my job, I wanted to try basically everything else. And I could work remotely in my job. So I decided to pack up and move to try to deal with the depression, which in some ways made it worse because again, I was then in March of 2020, 1 month after I moved here. Well, not even 1 month, like 2 weeks. 2 weeks after I moved here, basically then everything was locked down and there was nowhere to go and I didn't have any friends and there was no one to go meet and it's kind of sucked. So yeah, but I moved as one of many mechanisms to try to deal with my depression, which partially wound up backfiring, but I like Texas. I like the hat. I get the hat now. The hat's good. We could go hiking. Yeah. We could go hiking. I need a dog, maybe. $10 from Christy Graham. Major depression took me from Los Angeles to Mesa. Everything isn't perfect, but so much better. I wish you the best. Depression sucks out loud. Yeah, it does. Leaving my job went a very, very long way to help. Get Law and Lumber, get Natalie the lawyer chick to help. She's nearby. See if she'll help you move it. All right, I'm going to sign off for now. I've enjoyed hanging with you guys. It's always fun to hang with you guys in the chat for a while. I'm going to go get some sleep. I'm tired, get a nice rest, and I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow. That'll be awesome. Until later, my friends, I hope all is well. Cheers, my friends, and goodbye.